$28,000 is what I would have to pay to Porsche. So we came back from LA. I knew I needed to do a couple things. One is change the oil. I'm going to do that myself. More than that, I knew I needed to get the PDK service done. I'm up to 80,000 miles, 80,300, something like that. So I wanted to get the PDK service done anyways, because as a preventive maintenance. And I wanted to get the gearbox oil changed because I have never had the gearbox oil changed on this car. I looked through all my paperwork and I've seen other services that got done, and it looked like the gearbox oil had never been changed. I took my car to Porsche only because when I've taken the car to the independent shop, the one thing they can't do software updates to your PDK transmission. Only Porsche can do that. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to show you a screen video here in a minute with everything they found, but I'm just going to talk to you about it first. So they did the inspection, they drained all the oil, they drained all the fluids. PDK fluid, they said, looked pretty much new because I've done the PDK service already twice. Once when I first bought the car, because it only had 30,000 miles on it, but it was already 10 years old when I bought it. So I wanted to get that fluid out. And then a second time because just as a preventive maintenance. So the PDK fluid was clean. I know from my independent shop when they've done the differentials, the front differential clutch and the front differential case, both of those fluids are very clean, nothing wrong with them. So the only question mark I had was, how is the fluid in the gear oil? How is the gearbox oil itself, not just the PDK, the gearbox, because a PDK is split into two parts. There's the PDK fluid, which is automatic transmission fluid, and then there's gear oil, which is just a thicker, heavier oil for your gears. So how was that fluid? Well, the PDK fluid, which is ATF fluid, was clean, no issues. The gearbox oil also was dirty, but had no issues. No sparkles, no metal. That was my biggest concern, was like, is there metal in this oil? Is there contaminants in this oil? There was no debris in it. It was just dirty. All right, here's the car at the dealership. They're doing a quick walk around the outside. He's just recording the outside, I guess, to see if there's any damages or anything on it, but there was nothing. The outside looks perfectly fine. And then he'll put it up in the air and show you everything underneath. All right, so here he's showing me the front tires. Now it has more tread on the outside than the inside, which I already knew that because these cars they like to eat the inside tires more than the outside. For whatever reason, though, these front tires, the Michelin Pilot Sport All Seasons, really just chewed up the inside edge suddenly. It was fine until the tires started getting a little lower. Then all of a sudden it just chewed them up. They're still safe. They're not showing cord or anything like that, but it's significant. You can see it with your eye. But here is he's going to show you the grease here in a second. Look at that boot. Fresh grease. That's the outer boot on the front right. So that fresh grease, which is good, that means it hasn't been broken for a while. The inner boot looks fine. That's what he's trying to show you right here. And then he's going to go to the passenger side. And I'm sorry, that was the passenger side. This is the driver's side. And you can see the grease there on the inside. The outside is fine. So that one looks like it's been torn longer. And because the shield's in the way that for aero, all the aero stuff, I didn't even notice that it was broken. So, and I haven't heard any noise. And then he's just showing me the tires on the back, which are perfectly fine. And the boots and CV axles on the back are in perfectly good shape. Actually, the back tires are pretty decent shape. They're a little worn on the inside, but they're not as bad as the front. For whatever reason, the front tires seem to have fallen off a cliff recently as they got worn down pretty good. But everything on the back looks good. Suspension's good. So I found numerous things that I wasn't expecting, but there's actually only two things really wrong with the car. One, the obvious, what we've been talking about, the PDK transmission. Two, one I did not expect, it's completely brand new, is the CV axles. It's just Murphy's freaking law. The passenger side, that boot is never broken, but I can tell by the video and the grease in there in the picture that it just broke. This just happened like recently within like the last few days because the grease is very clean. It's that nice green colored, has no dirt or sand or anything in it. So that's another reason why the car is parked here. I've already ordered the axles from FCP Euro. Porsche, if I add up everything that Porsche found, not including the oil change, I add up what Porsche found, The total bill was over $8,000 for service stuff. The PDK for my car is $21,000. So if you add the service stuff, which is the fluids, the CV axles, the things they didn't know that I already did, add the PDK, $28,000 is what I would have to pay to Porsche to have the car like new. The car would be like brand new. It absolutely would be like brand new. That's way more than I can afford. At that point, the car becomes worthless. At that point, I might as well just give them the car and say, here's the car on consignment, fix whatever you want, sell it for whatever you want, and maybe I'll break even. That's not what we're gonna do. After speaking to the technician and after driving the car, yes, I drove the car with broken CV boots because I needed to drive the car. We're not gonna change the transmission because it's not broken. And actually, after the gearbox oil change and the new PDK, it's even smoother and tighter. Everything is better. The shifting is better. Even when I put it in drive, the clunk is less noticeable significantly. So the car is perfectly fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the PDK that anyone could find, that I could find, that they could find. This week, we're going to go to the DIY garage. We're going to do the oil change. We're going to do the axles, so I'll record that. The axles, that's going to be, I could do all that right here in my garage, but I want to get the car up on the lift. I want to look at everything, again, myself.
Many months later.
I haven't made a video in a while. Guess what? I'm not in Portland anymore, baby. Well, kind of am. Let me explain. Let me get in the car and I'll tell you about it. Well, I'm in Boise, Idaho. The last time I talked to you guys, I think I had come back from California in the Porsche. And unfortunately, when I took the car to Porsche, well, there's 2 services that I have not done, that I've done on the car recently, but I didn't do it myself, and that's why there was no content, that's why there's no video. One service, I kind of really didn't have a choice. I took it to Porsche because it needed to be done there. And so I went and got the PDK service and the gear oil change. And before you guys burn me up in the comments, you're going to say, oh, you could do that yourself. You don't got to take it to Porsche. Absolutely right. Yes, you can do it yourself. But I chose to take it to Porsche because I didn't want to take the chance of having the fluid or the gear oil, because I did both. I did the PDK service, the clutch fluid, and the transmission gear oil, which are all separate services, and they're all different fluids. I got all that done, and the car is so much better now. But the PDK fluid, the clutch fluid was good. The front differential fluid was nice and clean. What was really, really dirty was the gear oil. And I hadn't gotten it done in the past, and I was looking through my receipts, and I don't think it had ever been done. So the car is 15 years old, so I think that was the first time the gear oil had been replaced. So it was pretty nasty. Again, I didn't record it. I don't have any content because it was done at the Porsche dealership. The other part of it is only Porsche's got that calibration software. I don't have P-Wiz. If you've got P-Wiz, then you can do it yourself, but I don't, and I don't know anybody who has it locally. So Porsche also had to do the software side of it, and only they could do it. The indie shop that I usually take the car to when I don't want to work on it or when I can't work on it, they also don't have the Porsche software. So they couldn't do it. So that's why I took it to Porsche. And it was expensive, but they did give me the 15% off. They gave me a decent discount, so it was good. And at the end of the day, it was not that bad. It was actually the same price I would have paid at the indie shop. And that's why you need to talk to your service managers. You need to kind of be friendly with them, take them to lunch, do whatever you got to do, because they have the power if you have to take your car to Porsche. So service manager hooked me up. Jonathan, great dude. And if I need something in the future, I'll use them again. If I'm in Portland. That's the other part of this story. So, second thing that I did not do myself but got done on the Porsche was the axles. Let me get my Starbucks and then we'll continue this conversation. Got my Starbucks. Story time. So next mods for the Porsche will be nothing. Because I'm trying to, right now, I'm looking at spending money on a very big purchase, so I can't spend anything on the Porsche. So if you're watching the video this week, by the weekend, we're gonna change the oil. That's the big thing we're gonna do. The only thing that has me concerned about changing the oil was when I left to go to LA, I had just changed the oil and I filled it near the top mark, and with the heat and getting warmer down there than it was in Portland, this little thing called thermal expansion. If you're an engineer, you know what I'm talking about. So my only real concern with the oil is that while I was in LA, it was definitely warmer than it was in Portland, even though it was January. It was very summer-like or spring-like, and warmer temperatures, and I drove the car in a lot of traffic, so the engine would get nice and toasty. It never overheated. It was comfortable, but what happens is thermal expansion, where your oil level indication rises because the quality, I'm trying to explain it, but I'm an idiot. The indication of your oil will rise because of the properties of the oil when it gets hot versus when it gets cold. That's as technical as I'm going to get because I don't really understand it better than that. I should, but I don't. So a few times it was higher. I never got a warning on the car. I never got, hey, overfilled. The car didn't act different. It never blew smoke. Nothing happened. The other thing I noticed while I was in LA, I looked at my coolant level and it was on the lower end. It was still good, but it was near the low mark. And I don't remember if I had serviced it up before I left, or did that coolant evaporate, or was it exactly the same as I left, or worst case scenario, did the coolant bleed down into the oil? I don't know. So that's my only slight concern that I have right now, that I hope when I drain the oil this weekend, it's just clean oil and does not look like a chocolate milkshake. If it looks like a chocolate milkshake, that's gonna suck. But we'll find out this weekend, and that's what we got going. Now, as far as me being in a different state, in a different city, I'm gonna explain that in another video. I'm gonna make an entire video completely explaining the change, what happened, why I've been gone the other reason why I've been gone for a month from YouTube, and I'm gonna break it all down. It's not something I want to get into right now. Technically, actually, I can't get into it right now, but in about a week or two, I will be able to break it down without worrying about repercussions, if that makes any sense. All right, I'll catch you guys later. Enjoy your week, drive your cars, and I'll see you next week.